The world is full of secrets nobody talks about. Every page of history hides something completely wild. These are not boring facts from dusty textbooks. These are real stories that will make you question everything. Today, we are revealing 33 mind-blowing truths that sound impossible, but every single word is completely real. Let's dive in. Fact 1. The Nokia phone that conquered the world. In 2003, a simple phone changed everything for millions of people. The Nokia 1100 became the best-selling mobile phone in all of history. Over 250 million units were sold worldwide to eager customers everywhere. It was built like a tank and could survive drops, dust, and rain. The battery could last nearly 2 weeks without needing a charge at all. No camera, no apps, no fancy features, just pure, simple reliability. For millions of people, it was their first connection to the digital world. Even today, collectors hunt for this phone and pay good money for it. Sometimes the simplest things win against all the fancy new technology. Fact 2. Benjamin Franklin's first American coin. The first official coin of the United States was not just money. It carried a powerful message that people needed to hear. In 1787, Benjamin Franklin designed the Fugio cent, also called the Franklin cent. On one side, it showed a sundial with the Latin word fugio, meaning time flies. Franklin added his famous motto underneath saying, "Mind your business clearly." The meaning was not about gossip, but about focusing on work and industry. On the other side, it showed 13 linked rings representing the colonies. Below the rings, it said, "We are one," in bold letters. This early motto clashed with the later phrase about trust that came decades after. It showed how Franklin's practical values shaped the young nation from the start. Time flies fast, so you better mind your business and work hard. Fact 3. The man who became a millionaire selling rocks. Gary Dahl was sitting in a bar in 1975 listening to friends complain. They all talked about how hard it was to care for their pets. That is when the perfect idea hit him like lightning from above. The perfect pet is not alive at all, but just a simple rock. No food needed, no walks required, no mess to clean up ever. Best of all, it never dies or gets sick or runs away. Dahl turned this joke into reality and convinced friends to invest money. He bought smooth rocks off Mexican beaches for less than a penny each. He packaged them in cardboard boxes with air holes and straw like real pets. He called them pet rocks and debuted them at a trade show. Within weeks, orders exploded across America, like wildfire spreading fast. By Christmas, the craze peaked and everyone wanted one desperately for gifts. By the time sales dropped in 1976, Dahl had sold nearly 1.5 million rocks. He made 95 cents profit per rock and became a millionaire overnight. He became rich selling stones you could pick up for free anywhere. The joke became a $1 million reality that shocked everyone who heard about it. Fact 4. The president who received a giant cheese. In 1802, President Thomas Jefferson received a massive wheel of cheese. It weighed an incredible 1,635 pounds and was enormous beyond belief. Grateful farmers from Cheshire, Massachusetts, delivered it to the White House themselves. They wanted to honor Jefferson's commitment to separating church and state completely. The cheese was so massive, people nicknamed it the Mammoth Cheese immediately. It was made from the milk of 900 cows working together. The cheese bore a motto saying, "Rebellion to tyrants is duty," but its creation caused serious controversy across the young nation. Newspapers mocked it as a disgusting monument of pride from the North. Meanwhile, Jefferson's supporters treated it like a holy object from heaven. They even carved slices as keepsakes to treasure forever after that. The cheese lingered in the White House for years, taking up space. Slices were served on special occasions until it finally spoiled completely. Imagine getting a cheese bigger than most people as a gift today. Fact 5. The whales saved by classical music. Winter 1984 in Chukchi Peninsula, Russia brought a terrible crisis nobody expected. Around 3,000 beluga whales were trapped beneath ice 12 feet thick. They gasped desperately through tiny holes trying to breathe and survive. Their escape route to the ocean was completely blocked by solid ice. Starvation was coming for them, and death seemed certain for all. Locals tried to help, but the ice was too strong and merciless. Finally, the Soviets sent in the icebreaker ship called Moskva to save them. But the terrified whales refused to follow the thunderous, loud ship anywhere. Then someone came up with an unlikely solution that sounded completely crazy. They decided to blast music over loudspeakers attached to the ship loudly. The crew played pop, folk, and even classical symphonies through the speakers. It was classical music that finally worked like magic on the whales. The belugas responded to the sound and glided behind the ship calmly. They followed like a living orchestra of the Arctic, moving together beautifully. The rescue lasted weeks and cost about $80,000 in total. But in the end, roughly 2,000 whales were freed and saved from death. Music literally saved lives in the most unexpected way possible that day. Fact 6. The man struck by lightning 4 times. Walter Summerford's life reads like a terrible curse from an angry sky. In 1918, during World War I, he was struck by lightning suddenly. He was riding through a Belgian field when the bolt hit him hard. He was paralyzed from the waist down and could not walk anymore. He somehow recovered against all odds and continued living his life normally. But lightning struck him again, and then again after that incredibly. 3 times in one lifetime, each bolt found him like fate hunting him. But the story did not end when he finally died peacefully years later, 4 years after. His death, lightning struck once more from the clouds. This time it blasted his gravestone in the cemetery where he rested. It was as if nature itself refused to let him rest in peace. Some people are just magnets for bad luck, and lightning apparently forever. Fact 7. The book that predicted the Titanic. In 1898, American writer Morgan Robertson published a novel called Futility. It told the story of an unsinkable luxury liner called the Titan. The ship was enormous and everyone believed it could never sink at all. 14 years later, in 1912, the Titanic set sail and disaster struck. The story became terrifyingly real in the worst way possible for everyone. Both ships were nearly the same exact size and design. Both were considered completely unsinkable by experts and passengers alike. Both struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic during the month of April. Both sank with catastrophic loss of life because of too few lifeboats. When the real Titanic went down, Robertson's forgotten tale was republished immediately. The new title was changed to The Wreck of the Titan to match. Was it just coincidence, prophecy, or just a sailor who knew risks well? Nobody knows for sure, but the similarities are absolutely chilling to read about. Fact 8. The woman who appeared in 2 places at once. In 1813, a French woman named Émilie Saget was born in Dijon, France. She worked as a school teacher, but her career was haunted forever. No matter where she went to teach, students whispered the same thing. She was in 2 places at the exact same time somehow. In 1845, at a boarding school in Latvia, girls swore they saw something. They saw Emily teaching in the front and her ghostly double across the room. Some students even saw 2 reflections of her in a mirror simultaneously. The most chilling event happened when 42 students witnessed something impossible together. They saw Emily picking flowers in the garden while also sitting in a chair. Emily herself never saw the apparition that everyone else could see clearly. She only felt weak and drained when it appeared to others around her. Fear spread quickly, and parents pulled their daughters out of the school. Schools dismissed her 19 times in total because of the strange occurrences. She vanished into obscurity after moving to Russia and was never heard from again. If you ever think someone works 2 jobs at once, Emily did it first. Fact 9. The BBC's spaghetti tree hoax. April 1, 1957 became one of the greatest pranks in television history. The BBC aired a segment showing Swiss farmers harvesting spaghetti from trees. Viewers saw long strands of spaghetti hanging from tree branches like fruit. The serious voice of a veteran broadcaster made it sound completely real. Thousands of viewers called the BBC asking how to grow their own spaghetti trees. The BBC politely told them to place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce, then wait and hope for the best results in the spring season. It revealed how little people knew about food sources back then in England. Spaghetti was still exotic and unfamiliar to most British people at that time. The prank worked because people trusted the BBC completely without question ever. Today we laugh, but imagine believing pasta grew on trees like apples naturally. Fact 10. The flying dinosaurs of New York. On July 4th, 1976, America celebrated its 200th birthday with something unbelievable. Giant dinosaurs floated through the sky above New York City that morning. These were not balloons, but massive fiberglass sculptures flying overhead beautifully. At the 1964 World's Fair, Sinclair Oil had unveiled 9 dinosaurs originally. They were created by sculptor Louis Paul Jonas and stunned everyone who saw them. The dinosaurs floated down the Hudson River before the exhibit opened officially. They cemented America's obsession with prehistoric giants forever after that spectacular display. Nothing says Happy Independence Day quite like an airborne dinosaur flying over crowds. Imagine looking up and seeing a Tyrannosaurus Rex cruising past the Statue of Liberty. Fact 11. Feed sack fashion during the Great Depression. During the Great Depression and World War II, American families struggled badly. They had no money to buy clothes for their growing children anymore. Women turned flour and feed sacks into dresses, shirts, and curtains creatively. Companies saw an opportunity and began printing sacks with beautiful floral designs. Bright patterns covered the sacks, so families could sew garments that looked stylish. Brands like Kansas Weed and Gingham Girl promoted feed sack fashion everywhere. By the 1940s, this was not just thrift, but a cultural phenomenon across America. Entire wardrobes came from humble grain bags instead of expensive stores. Imagine today's designer labels trying to sell you a limited edition flower sack dress. People would think you lost your mind completely, but back then, it was normal. Fact 12. The president who pranked guests with a car. President Lyndon Johnson loved a good prank more than anything else. His amphibious car was his weapon of choice for scaring people badly. At his Texas ranch in the 1960s, he would drive guests toward a lake. He would shout that the brakes don't work while speeding up toward water. The car would plunge into the water and panic would erupt from passengers. Shock turned to amazement when the car started floating on the surface calmly. It was powered by rear propellers that kicked in automatically underwater. The Amphicar was made in West Germany from 1961 to 1968. It could hit 70 miles per hour on land and 7 miles per hour on water. Johnson used it to terrify diplomats and delight himself with their reactions. Who needs fancy planes when you have a car that scares people to death? Fact 13. Nikola Tesla predicted the smartphone. In 1926, Nikola Tesla gave an interview that shocked everyone who read it. He described a vest pocket device that would connect the entire world together. People could talk instantly across the world and see one another clearly. They could even watch live events like sports games from anywhere on Earth. He imagined a global wireless system that sounds exactly like the internet today. His vision of portable interconnected devices mirrors the modern smartphone almost perfectly now. Tesla did not just predict electricity grids and radio waves for the future. He basically predicted FaceTime and video calls decades before they existed at all. The man was living in the future, while everyone else was stuck in the past. Fact 14. The inventor who gave parents control over TV. Dr. Joseph Jackson was one of America's most prominent black inventors ever. He reshaped television technology in the 1970s and 1990s with his brilliant ideas. He developed devices like the programmable television controller for families everywhere. He also created the telecommander, designed to give parents control over content. His work laid the foundation for the V-chip that blocks inappropriate content today. Beyond television, Jackson patented devices for fertility prediction and aircraft tracking systems too. He turned everyday frustration into innovation that helped millions of people worldwide. He proved invention is not just about gadgets, but about empowerment and control. Sometimes the best inventions come from parents who are just tired of fighting over TV. Fact 15. The Egyptian calendar that inspired Rome. The ancient Egyptians built one of history's most fascinating calendars thousands of years ago. It had 365 days total, with 12 months of 30 days each. Plus, 5 extra days were tacked on at the end of the year. But there was no leap year built into the system at all. That meant the calendar slipped by 1 day every 4 years slowly. It cycled through the entire solar year. Julius Caesar later borrowed heavily from Egypt when reforming Rome's broken calendar. This eventually became today's modern calendar system we all use now. Turns out, even 4,000 years ago, people were already running late because of calendars. Fact 16. The woman who gave birth 27 times. In 18th century Russia, one woman gave birth an astonishing 27 times total. She was the first wife of Fyodor Vasilyev, a peasant from Shuya. Records list 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets. That adds up to 69 children from one single mother, unbelievably. A monastery report from 1782 confirmed the births and noted something remarkable. Almost all of the children survived infancy, which was extremely rare back then. Fyodor later fathered 18 more children with his second wife after the first died. In total, he had 87 children, which is enough to fill an entire village. Imagine trying to remember all their names at family dinners every year. Fact 17. Machu Picchu, the lost city in the clouds. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru sits Machu Picchu in the clouds. It is a spectacular 15th century Inca city perched nearly 8,000 feet high. It showcases extraordinary Inca engineering, including mortarless stone walls that fit perfectly. Agricultural terraces cover the mountainside, showing their farming brilliance back then. Built during the reign of Emperor Pachacuti, the city was magnificent and powerful. It was abandoned and forgotten for centuries after the Spanish conquest arrived. The jungle hid it from the world until 1911 when Hiram Bingham rediscovered it. It remains a mystery to this day about its true purpose originally. Was it a sacred place, a royal retreat, or an astronomical observatory for priests? Today, this UNESCO World Heritage Site symbolizes the incredible brilliance of the Incas. Imagine hiding an entire city for centuries without anyone finding it. Fact 18. Benjamin Franklin's advice on mistresses. In 1745, Benjamin Franklin wrote unusual advice to a young male friend. The letter was titled, Advice on the Choice of a Mistress Bluntly. Franklin suggested older women were better companions for young men seeking affairs. He argued they were more experienced, kinder, and more grateful than young women. He also noted it avoided the problem of taking someone's purity away completely. The letter was shared privately, showing Franklin's blunt and practical side clearly. It shows that even founding fathers had a wild side nobody talks about. Franklin was not just about kites and electricity, but also about relationship advice, apparently. Fact 19. Michelangelo the Divine One. Michelangelo was born in 1475 in Florence, Italy during the Renaissance. Apprenticed at just 13 years old, he entered the famous Medici circle quickly. He rose to fame rapidly, and his peers called him the Divine One. By his 20s, he had already sculpted the Pietà and the monumental David statue. Between 1508 and 1512, he painted the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel alone. The creation of Adam became one of the most famous artworks in all history. Later, he designed parts of St. Peter's Basilica, leaving his mark on Rome forever. Fact 20. The Persians who made decisions drunk and sober. The ancient Persians had a striking method for making important decisions wisely. They debated serious matters once while completely drunk on wine and beer. Then they reconsidered the same issue again the next day while completely sober. If both drunk and sober choices matched exactly, the decision stood as final. If the choices did not match, the idea was completely discarded immediately. It was their clever way of balancing wild impulse with careful reason together. Maybe we should bring this method back for modern politics and business meetings. Fact 21. The drought that collapsed. The Maya. A stalagmite in Mexico preserved the story of the Maya collapse perfectly over time. Scientists tracked rainfall from 871 to 1021 using oxygen isotopes trapped inside. They found repeated droughts, including one lasting 13 terrible years without rain. Crops failed completely, temples were abandoned, and dynasties crumbled into dust forever. Even their advanced reservoirs could not withstand a decade without any rain falling. Deforestation and conflict made the crisis even worse, sealing the empire's decline. Sometimes nature decides when civilizations rise and when they must fall forever. Fact 22. The man who prevented nuclear war. On September 26, 1983, Soviet systems reported 5 American missiles incoming toward Russia. The alarms blared loudly, demanding immediate nuclear retaliation against the United States. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov refused to follow the official protocol that night. He reasoned that a real strike would involve hundreds of missiles, not just 5. Ground radar confirmed no actual launches had occurred from America at all. The warning was caused by sunlight reflecting off clouds, creating a false signal. Petrov's choice to wait and think may have prevented nuclear war completely. One man's doubt saved the entire world from total destruction that dark night. Fact 23. The pyramids were not built by slaves. For centuries, everyone believed slaves built the pyramids under terrible conditions. Archaeology has completely flipped that false narrative on its head recently. Digging into Giza and surrounding sites, researchers found purpose-built villages everywhere. Barracks, bakeries, workshops, and even a hospital were discovered for workers. This was infrastructure for a skilled workforce, not chains for enslaved people. The laborers were Egyptians conscripted from farms and recruited in rotation fairly. They ate prime cuts of meat and received proper medical care when injured. They were respected enough that some were buried in tombs near the pyramids. Inside the pyramids, red ochre graffiti names their work crews with pride. Names like the Friends of Khufu or White Crown showed their identity clearly. Modern estimates suggest approximately 20,000 to 30,000 skilled Egyptian workers built them, working out of civic pride and duty, not fear or chains at all. Fact 24. The longest marriage ever recorded. In 1925, Karam Chand married Kartari in Punjab, India, in a simple ceremony. Their marriage lasted an incredible 90 years and 291 days together. They later moved to the United Kingdom to start a new life there. Together, they raised 8 children and 27 grandchildren through the decades passing. Their partnership spanned nearly a century of history and massive world changes. It remains the longest marriage ever officially recorded anywhere on Earth. Love can last when 2 people truly commit to each other completely forever. Fact 25. The discovery that saved diabetics. Before 1922, diabetes was almost always a death sentence for anyone diagnosed. At the University of Toronto, doctors tested insulin for the very first time. They gave it to children dying from diabetic ketoacidosis in hospital. The results were immediate and shocked everyone who witnessed them that day. Patients revived within hours and came back from death's door completely. Mortality dropped from over 90% to less than 1% overnight. Insulin turned diabetes into a manageable condition instead of a killer disease. It remains one of medicine's greatest breakthroughs that saved millions of lives worldwide. Fact 26. The first personal ads for love. Long before apps and swipes, people searched for love in newspapers instead. The first known personal ad appeared in England on July 19, 1695. By 1710, all 53 of London's major papers published matrimonial notices regularly. America's earliest ad appeared in Boston in 1759 for Lonely Hearts Searching. These ads worked like anonymous dating profiles, with the paper acting as matchmaker. Writers described appearance, wealth, expectations for a spouse they desired to meet. By the 1800s, some ads got hundreds of replies from interested people. Top newspapers charged extra money for premium placement at the top. Dating apps did not invent romance, but just gave it a touchscreen instead. Fact 27. The man who escaped war twice. Wilmer McLean wanted peace more than anything else in his life. In 1861, the First Battle of Bull Run erupted on his farm in Virginia. Cannonballs shattered his fences, and soldiers trampled his fields, destroying everything. To escape the terrible war, he moved his family hundreds of miles away. He settled in Appomattox Courthouse, thinking he was finally safe from battle. But history had other plans waiting for him there, unfortunately for his peace. In 1865, General Lee surrendered to General Grant inside McLean's new home. The Civil War had started in his front yard and ended in his parlor. Sometimes you can run from history, but you absolutely cannot hide from it. Fact 28. Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey. Benjamin Franklin thought the bald eagle was a terrible choice for America's symbol. He called it lazy, dishonest, and just a scavenger stealing from others. Instead, Franklin argued strongly for the turkey as the national bird instead. He called it more courageous, respectable, and truly American in character. Imagine carving the national bird at Thanksgiving dinner every single year proudly. That would be both patriotic and delicious at the exact same time. Thankfully, we stuck with the eagle because roasting turkeys for Freedom Day feels awkward. Fact 29. The bus that jumped Tower Bridge, London, December 30th, 1952, saw something incredible and terrifying happen together. A double-decker bus was crossing Tower Bridge, carrying 20 passengers that morning. Without any warning, the roadway began to rise beneath the moving bus. Driver Albert Gunter realized the bridge was opening beneath him while driving. With no time to brake safely, he made a split-second decision. He slammed the accelerator down hard, and the bus launched into the air. It cleared the gap and landed safely on the other side, miraculously. All 20 passengers survived, though Albert broke his leg in the landing. His reward for saving 20 lives was just £10 and 1 day off work. Heroism clearly was not valued at the same rate as bus fare back then. Fact 30. The man from a country that never existed. Tokyo Airport, 1954, saw one of history's strangest mysteries unfold that day. A passenger arrived with a passport from a country called Torred on it. He insisted it was a European nation located between France and Spain. Customs officers had never heard of Torred and detained him in a hotel. They placed guards outside his door to make sure he could not escape. By morning, the man and all his documents had vanished without a single trace. Some say it was a clever scam to fool authorities and escape. Others believe he slipped back into a parallel world he came from. Either way, he became the man who checked in but never checked out. Fact 31. The green children who appeared from nowhere. In 12th century England, 2 strange children appeared in the village of Woolpit. Their skin was bright green, and their language was completely unknown to everyone. They refused all food except raw beans and would eat nothing else. Over time, the boy sadly died, but the girl adapted to her new life. She lost her green color and learned to speak English over many months. She later claimed they came from a twilight land with no sun ever. Whether myth, malnutrition, or genuine mystery, they remain one of medieval England's strangest tales. Nobody knows where they came from or what happened to the boy who died. Fact 32. The boy who appeared from nowhere. In 1828, a teenage boy appeared in Nuremberg barely able to speak or walk. He claimed to have grown up in total isolation, away from all people. Rumors spread quickly that he was a lost noble hidden from birth. For years, he fascinated Europe with his strange story and mysterious past. Then, in 1833, he was stabbed under mysterious circumstances and died from his wounds. No one ever proved who he really was or why someone killed him. From nobody to maybe somebody, Casper remained history's biggest question mark forever. Fact 33. The Ghost Ship. Mary Celeste. On December 5, 1872, sailors found a ship drifting alone in the Atlantic. The Mary Celeste was completely intact with cargo, food, and belongings untouched. But the entire crew had vanished into thin air without any explanation. Theories range from piracy and mutiny to earthquakes and supernatural forces causing it. No bodies were found, no final message was left, and no clear explanation exists. To this very day, the Mary Celeste sails through history as the ocean's greatest ghost ship. It remains one of the most famous unsolved maritime mysteries of all time. And there you have it, folks. 33 more incredible truths from the past. History is not boring or dead like your teachers made it seem. It is wild, bizarre, and full of moments that make absolutely no sense. Which fact shocked you the most out of everything we covered today? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone watching.